The goal isn't to stop having conflict. Arguments are not the problem. The problem is the pattern. Over time, you guys have developed this dance where a particular song comes on, like you notice that your partner is not offering to help. And anytime that song comes on, you're doing the same dance over and over. It's now muscle memory. Okay, the song is turning on. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get passive aggressive. Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm Michelle Perda, mom of three, wife, marriage coach, and host of this show. I help couples move from reactive patterns to intentional partnership using my connected partnership framework so you can feel more connected, supported, and get back to feeling like an us again, all while raising kids. If you've ever felt like you and your partner keep having the same arguments on repeat, or like you've slowly become more like roommates than partners, you're not alone, and your marriage is not broken. The truth is, most couples were never taught how to navigate conflict, communicate effectively, or build a strong partnership. And that's exactly what we do here. Now let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. Today we're going to kick off the mini-series that has to do with why you keep having the same arguments and what's causing it and how to actually stop that. This mini-series I am calling Why You Keep Having the Same Arguments and How to Actually Break the Pattern, because it is a pattern. The reason why you keep finding yourself in repetitive arguments is because there is a hidden pattern that is keeping you stuck. Now, if in your relationship, in your marriage, you are finding yourself constantly in arguments with each other, you may think that it's because there's so many different things that are going on. It's because there's a lot of issues that you guys haven't been able to resolve. But I'll tell you, most times it's not because you're having different arguments. It's because you're having the same argument, but in different ways. So this is definitely you. If you've had this thought, or if you've even said this out loud, that you've talked about this already, nothing changes, or you experience the same outcome every time, right? You come out of it feeling a little bit more misunderstood, a little bit more unsupported, a little bit more lonely, a little more disconnected. This is one of the most common patterns that I see with my clients. Now, here's what's actually happening, right? This isn't actually a communication issue. It is a pattern issue. The pattern that you are finding yourself in is one of you gets triggered by something, right? Someone does something, someone says something, someone forgets something, whatever it is. And the other person has a reaction to it, whether it's frustration, anger, rage, disappointment, resentment. And then they act on that, right? And then the other person comes back with a counter reaction, defensiveness, blaming, criticizing, shutting down, freezing. And then the argument escalates. So you guys start going back and forth. Maybe you guys start yelling. And then you guys get tired of it because it's not going anywhere. And you come out with no resolution. And so you kind of just go your separate ways until time has passed and you're like, well, we still have life to handle together. We still need to work together because we are co-parents and we're roommates. So let's just forget about it and keep going on with life until the next thing happens. And that pattern loops back again. It starts and you go down that same path and then same ending, and then rinse and repeat for your entire relationship until something changes, right? Most couples try and fix this at a communication level. Oh, maybe I need to say things differently. Maybe I just need to understand them better. Or maybe I need to help them understand myself better. Or maybe I need to help them understand what I'm going through more. But the pattern actually starts with how you're showing up emotionally. So even before you even speak a word, the pattern has started. Let me explain. So earlier I mentioned starts out with a trigger, right? So the trigger happens, and then whoever has an emotional response to that, they're having some feelings about it, right? They're overwhelmed, they're overstimulated, upset, frustrated, resentful, feeling unsupported, lonely, you name it. However, there's a general lack of awareness of that feeling. They just know they feel awful. They don't like to feel this way. And that triggers them to do something with that emotional reaction because there's a lack of awareness of what's going on inside them. When we are not aware of how we're feeling, we cannot begin to direct or lead ourselves to take a more healthy approach to feeling that way, right? So let me use an example to better illustrate this. So I had a client who felt like she and her husband kept fighting about the same thing. And what they were fighting about is what a lot of couples argue about, right? Partnership, the load. This woman kept feeling like, why am I doing everything and I don't feel supported? I feel exhausted. Why don't you notice that I'm exhausted and pitch in? Why don't you offer to do something to take some off of my load? And as a result, she became very resentful. She didn't enjoy being around her partner. Her partner didn't enjoy being around her because she was miserable. And that's not exactly the vibe of a happy marriage, right? If there's someone miserable, your first inclination isn't, yeah, let's hang out. Let's have fun. You're very magnetic right now, right? No, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to steer clear. I need to walk on eggshells because I don't want to make it worse. I don't want to experience the wrath, right? And so when we worked together, what I helped her learn to do was to slow things down. Because it wasn't about the laundry. It wasn't about all the stuff that she was doing. It was about how they were reacting to each other. It was about how they were approaching each other when there was an issue. So what I want to let you know, which you might not have ever been told before, is that the goal isn't to stop having conflict. It isn't to stop arguing. Although I'm sure you would like to argue less, arguments are not the problem. The problem is the pattern. You're repeating the same pattern. Over time, you guys have developed this kind of dance where when a particular song comes on, right, like you notice that stuff hasn't been put away, or you notice that your partner is not offering to help, or you're automatically the default for a particular kind of task or most tasks, right? So let's say that song plays. Well, over time, you guys have developed steps to this dance, to this particular song. And so anytime that song comes on, that trigger, you're doing the same dance over and over and over again. It's now muscle memory, right? And so what really needs to happen is not to change the song, it's to change the dance. So instead of going from, okay, the song is turning on, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get passive aggressive. I'm going to say things like, must be nice to relax, right? Or slam a cabinet door, or huff and puff about how busy you are, or, fill in the blank with whatever your usual go-to is when you're feeling frustrated and you're triggered by this event. So instead of doing that, now you're like, oh, that song's on. Okay, well, instead of doing that, I'm going to collaborate with my partner and figure out what needs to change about how we do things in this family so that I don't feel this way anymore, so that we can be partners, so that I can feel supported and my partner can feel like they are being the kind of partner that our marriage needs for us to be happy, right? So I'm going to let them know that these are the things that I am needing support with. This is how I envision how partnership works in our family. These are the values that I want to instill in our kids. And this is what I want them to observe, right? So it's not about stopping the song, or not playing that song ever again. It's about learning a different dance, changing the pattern. So what you're really needing to do is not feel bad about how you're reacting, because that's counterproductive, right? Like, yes, you can notice that wasn't the best way to respond to that situation. But what would be even more productive is actually creating this micro shift of noticing the pattern instead of focusing on what set this whole thing off. So what you can do is ask yourself, where does this usually start? What's that first domino that gets knocked over, that sets everything else down? And ask yourself, what do I typically do in response to that? Now, you may not like the answers that you come up with, but this is truly the first step of building awareness. Inside my connected partnership method, this is the starting point. Understanding the pattern so that you can change it. And it starts with awareness. Okay? So I have something for you. If you are ready to help yourself build that awareness, and that's my conflict to connection guide. In this guide, it will help you slow things down and understand what's actually happening in your arguments. What's happening when you get upset, when you feel unsupported, resentful, lonely. It will walk you through step by step to help you process and build that sense of self-awareness so that when you are ready to communicate what's going on, articulating and sharing what's happening inside of you, you will already have spent that time to reflect and consider, why am I upset? What's sparking this? What's that trigger? What am I wanting and needing? Versus going to your go-to method of being passive aggressive or being aggressive or being distant and cold, right? Let's change the pattern. And grabbing my conflict to connection guide is a great first step for you to start getting familiar with, what is my pattern? What is it that I want to change it to instead? And walking yourself through, giving yourself that time and space to process, to get to a place where you can have more productive conversations so that you can turn your conflict into connection and get back to the sense of being an us again, right? Not me versus him or me versus her, but us, the team, the relationship, the couple, the marriage. Okay. So go grab that guide and send me an email. Let me know how things go. Let me know if you have any questions, or send me a DM on Instagram at Michelle Perta Coaching, wherever it is that you prefer to connect. Happy to support you through your journey into building more self-awareness and having more productive conflict resolution. Okay, well, that's it for today. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day. I hope that you take this next step to create that first micro shift in your relationship. And you can go ahead and grab that conflict to connection guide in the show notes. You will find a link there. And if you know someone that could benefit from listening to this episode, please share this with them. And if you love this show, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you being here. Please consider leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's truly what helps the show grow and helps more people like you get the help that they need. Make sure you come back next week to catch part 2 of this mini series. And I will catch you back here on the next episode. Bye. If you're listening to this and you're starting to see your own patterns a little more clearly, that's exactly where change begins. And you don't have to figure out the rest on your own. I got you. If you want help taking what you're noticing and actually shifting it in your relationship, check out the show notes for next steps to help things move forward in your marriage, whether that's a guide, a masterclass, or booking a clarity call if you're ready for support. Stay tuned for the next episode. See you there.